Welcome into the betPARX postgame show presented by Pond Lehocky. Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, and Derrick Gunn with you here from Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia, on the heels of a 22-10 Eagles victory over the Green Bay Packers. Jalen Hurts started out crisp, and then somehow Russ showed, but the defense was there to take over, and in no doubt the star of the show. Really, in today's game, the star of that game, without question, was the Philadelphia Eagles defense, and then on offense, Dallas Goedert with a mauling touchdown reception, absolutely handling his business to help put the Eagles in front for good in this game. Absolutely incredible play by the defense and Dallas. And when you look at this game, Seth Joyner, wasn't the prettiest when it came to the offense, but throughout this game for 4 quarters, the defense absolutely showed up to help this team to victory.
Well, it's going to be interesting because I cannot wait, to listen to WIP all week. I can't wait to, read all the articles and hear all the pundits, on social media and all the podcasts and whatnot. Because you know what they're going to say? Oh, my God, I can't believe, that everybody's happy about this win. Jalen was 13 of 21, 131 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 111 rating. Shut the hell up. They won the damn game, Gunn.
Oh, I agree.
Do you want to win the game or do you want your quarterback to throw for 300 yards and two interceptions and you lose the game? Look at all of these prolific quarterbacks. Justin Herbert, 4 interceptions. Jordan Love, 2-3 interceptions today. Shut the hell up. Your quarterback is doing what's necessary to win the game. They are playing complementary football because the defense is playing its behind off, so we don't have to be explosive on the offensive side of the ball. We just need to stay ahead and win the game, okay? Is the objective to explode offensively or to win football games? And for me, that's all I care about. That's all I care about, Mark. I don't care about anything else. Don't talk to me about how many yards Saquon had or how many catches A.J. Brown didn't get or anything else. When you're in the playoffs, it's a one-and-done scenario, okay? You got 1 week to win or you go home. There's no next week. There's no game that you can make up next week. There's only next year. Guess what? The Philadelphia Eagles will be at Lincoln Financial Field next week playing another playoff game. Stop your bitching and moaning. Stop your complaining, okay, and be happy that your team is advancing in the playoffs. Enough said.
I feel like I have to tell you, why are you so optimistic, man? You always you're just always pumping the pom-poms, buddy.
Mark,
why are you always so optimistic?
Mark, because you want to know why? Because,
I think I know why.
Because I know how hard it is to win.
Mm-hmm.
I know how hard it is to win this time of the year. I've seen my share of disappointment in 3 playoff losses in Philadelphia. I've seen the disappointment of losing the Super Bowl, and I know the elation of winning the Super Bowl, okay? So I've been there. I've lived this. I know how hard it is to do what the Eagles were able to do today. And it's just those people on the peripheral, And I'm not saying that you have to have lived it. You have to be a player to have an opinion. Have your opinion, okay? I'm just telling you from my perspective, shut the hell up. If you're an Eagles fan, be happy that they won the game and you got another week, to play. Because I guarantee you, the L.A. Chargers, they got a lot going on in L.A. right now. But I guarantee you they licking their wounds about how they got their got the doors blown off them yesterday. I guarantee you the Pittsburgh Steelers are feeling the same way. I guarantee you, hey, listen, man, your team is still in the playoffs, okay? Revel in it and enjoy it. Let's not break this down. We can talk about all of that when the season's over. Right now, they're still in the mix. So why can't we just be happy? I don't get it.
All right, let me just get into this. While you're on that subject. I'm extremely happy, and as a man who graduated WIP, I was there for 13 years. As an alum, the other angle of this is, yes, we're happy, but was this an encouraging performance from your quarterback. It was certainly encouraging by your defense. Was this an encouraging performance tonight by your quarterback?
I think that you had to realize that there was going to be some good with the bad when your quarterback hadn't played for 3 weeks, okay? You got to give some credit to the team that's on the other side, too. It's not like, Jalen Hurts is lining up against the Sisters of the Poor, and he can't figure out who the hell to throw the football to. The other team got good players, too. And that's why you have 3 phases. You got Jake Elliott, kicking field goals. You got the defense locking opposing offenses down, You got Saquon Barkley doing what he's doing. Everybody assumes that the quarterback has to be the sole reason why you win games. No, the reason you win a game is because you have a team. It takes a team to win. Show me one quarterback that's able to do it all. Snap the ball to himself, drop back, protect himself, run downfield, throw the ball to himself and catch it and score a touchdown. That's the way some of these gurus make it sound like it has to be. And that any success that Jalen has, he has it because, he got all of these players around. Don't be mad because Howie does a better job than any other, GM around the league. Don't be mad because he has what every other quarterback, wishes they had. Because when he needs to make plays for this football team, when the Green Bay Packers, D-Gun, drew tight, what did Jalen do? He took him on the drive. It will be our drive of the game. He took him on that drive. He got the ball to Devontae. He checked the play against zero blitz, made the play to Dallas Goedert, and Dallas Goedert had the run of the season, to score a touchdown to put the Eagles back up by 2 scores. What else do you want him to do?
Exactly. I think a lot of times we get caught up too much in statistics, period. Okay? And I understand fantasy football is huge and all this stuff, but
I don't give a rat's ass about fantasy football.
I've never played.
Please, can you please?
I've never played fantasy football.
I give a rat's ass about fantasy football, and I really don't care about the whole betting prospect of
I don't either.
I don't. Okay, the only thing I care about is whether we're marching down Broad Street and up to the art museum in a drunken stupor one more time. That's the only thing I care about.
That's exactly right. I don't care if you win the game 3-2, 3-0. I don't care how you get to the finish line. One team is still standing tall, another team is licking his wound and getting on the bus and heading home. And that's the bottom line. The stats, it was a weird game, though. When you look at the game statistically, it's a weird game the way it was played. And I'm going to attribute to it to 2 things. Number 1, Jalen had 3 weeks off, basically. Number 2, the regulars didn't play in the regular season finale against the Giants, So maybe there was a little rust. But you have a roster that is so deep and so talented, when one phase of it is not clicking, the other phase takes over. And today it was a defense. Sometimes it's the offense. But the bottom line is their talented roster is more talented than anybody else's in the National Football League.
Thank you, D-Gun.
Now, the only thing they have to do at this point is to hoist that trophy to solidify we're the best team and the best roster, because that team in Kansas City is still the 2-time defending champion. And maybe they'll meet them in the Super Bowl. Maybe it'll be Buffalo. Maybe it'll be Baltimore. Who knows? But right now, the Philadelphia Eagles came out, didn't play their best game, but they played well enough to beat a Green Bay Packers team by 12 points. That's all that matters, okay? And, kudos, shout out to Nakobe Dean. From what I'm hearing, it's not good with him. Obviously, more tests coming up, more MRIs, things of that nature. You hate to lose him because he has been such a definitive, integral part of what that defense has had success-wise. But the bottom line is, you still have players, Owen Burks. You have other players that are hey, one man's injury is another man's opportunity. And now it's going to be somebody else. And hopefully, when they sit down and look at the film tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and get out there, they'll realize, okay, these little things that we didn't make happen, we're going to make happen whoever we face at Lincoln Financial Field next weekend.
All right, I'm going to go back to a word that I used earlier in encouraging. Obviously, the defense encouraged. Special teams very much encouraged today. When you talk about that, Jalen Hurts, I was concerned about rust. Now, he started out 5 for 5, started out with that touchdown drive after the special teams forced the turnover. Oren Burks came up with the big hit. Then it was picked up by Jeremiah Trotter Jr. on the opening kickoff. 5 plays there. Eagles are in the end zone for a touchdown. All that was great. But then Jalen Hurts struggled mightily. He wasn't seeing open receivers. He was missing throws. He looked every bit of a guy who hadn't played in 3 weeks. But when you talk about encouraging, it's when Jalen Hurts is able to respond to his struggles. And when they needed him to step up and lead a big drive, for instance, they finally get on the board, the Green Bay Packers, and what happens 5 plays after that? He hits Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert mows through some guys, gets into the end zone for a touchdown, and Hurts was perfect on that drive. And that has been a big thing of Jalen Hurts all season long. Panthers game excluded, which the offensive line was off, Jalen was off, the wide receivers were off. If they needed a big play or a clutch play, from a 50-yard play to a 3rd and 7 to Dallas Goedert against the Ravens, Hurts delivered the football, and he delivered in the big moments. That overall, with the defense, is what I find most encouraging about this win.
Well, the question is, if you're relying on your quarterback to be a part of your team and be a driving force of your team, it doesn't matter that he has to carry you throughout the entire game. What you're trying to do is when you need him to step up and be a player, when you need him to step up and make plays that make a difference in the outcome of the game, to me, that's the most important thing. Like, I don't need for my quarterback to throw for 300 yards. I don't need that. I mean, not the way this team is constructed. Maybe last year, maybe, the year before, maybe when they go to the Super Bowl, they need Jalen Hurts to do that. But when you have a dominant defense and you have a dominant offensive line and you have the ability to run the football the way that this team needs to run it, you don't need your quarterback to go out there and throw it 30 times a game. D-Gun, we've been talking about this for how long? We've been talking about it for a long time, ever since the bye week.
Absolutely.
And even Tom Brady said today, but I was way ahead of him because I've been tracking these numbers. The Eagles have asked Jalen to throw the ball on average, 21 times per game. He's completing almost 70% of those throws. He has not turned the football over. What more do you want your quarterback to do? I think we've fallen in love with, the explosive play down the field and the big play and this and that. And to a certain extent, I get the sense that we've kind of fallen out of love with wins and losses. Is it about us winning football games, or is it about the statistical dominance, okay? For me, it's about winning football games because I know how hard it is to win football games. Now, if he has a great statistical day, great. That's fine. He had that against Pittsburgh. Everybody wanted to see him throw the ball all over the map. He went out and he did that, okay? But when it's not warranted, when they don't need him to do that, I don't understand how people get all bent out of shape about the fact that he's not getting it done. Did the team win? If they won, shut up and enjoy the win.
You know how many times Jalen has thrown for 300 yards in a game this year?
No.
One time.
Did he throw for one time?
One time this year.
I'm shocked that it was even that much.
Do you know how many times he's thrown for more than 250 yards in a game this season? 4 times. How many games have they won up to this point? 15 games, right? That's all that matters. They've won 15 games, only lost 3, and they're moving on to the second round of the playoffs. And, by the way, that game will be right here in their backyard no matter who wins tonight, tomorrow. It's all right here. That's all you got to worry about.
I hate that it's become said in jest, almost to make fun of Jalen Hurts. And I don't say this in jest at all. I say this one with 100% certainty, or with sincerity. It's the main thing. Isn't that what Jalen Hurts is always talking about? The main thing, keeping the main thing the main thing?
Yeah,
it's about winning. It's not about his numbers. It's not about his stats. It's about winning. And today, I'll go to it again. The star of the show was the Philadelphia Eagles defense, and that's going to bring us to our mid-pen bank player to bank on. And that has to do with Nolan Smith and his performance today. He helped get things started after the special teams. Fantastic play by the Eagles. The touchdown from Jalen Hurts to Jahan Dotson. And then it was the Nolan Smith show. Overall, 2 sacks. One that helped set the table and set the momentum for the Eagles and set the tone in the early goings of the game. One to seal the deal towards the end of the game, coming up with 8 total tackles, 4 solo, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 2 quarterback hits, and a partridge in a pear tree while we're at it. When we're looking at Nolan Smith, gentlemen, a couple of things. One, before the season, I didn't expect anything from him. I thought it was going to be another year of Nolan Smith trying to learn the NFL way. Well, it seemed that after the offseason when he got his shoulder scoped or whatever he did, he has been a completely different player than he's been in his rookie season. And I have seen a great growth. Zach Bond is obviously the headline of growth this year for the Philadelphia Eagles defense. I would have to say behind him, maybe him and Jalen Carter, it's Nolan Smith. And just to give you these stats on him as well. In the first quarter, the Green Bay Packers had 10 plays in total. Nolan Smith had 4 tackles on those 10 plays, including a sack, a quarterback hit, as well as a tackle for loss. That's the way you start out a game if you're on this Eagles defense, Seth.
Well, listen, man. We talked about it in the pregame about how these young players have come along. You asked the question, what's most impressive? I'm impressed by these young players that have grown up right before our eyes, in a short span of time, in a short period of time. Nolan Smith being one. Listen, you're talking about a guy last year who wasn't even sure whether his shoulder was operational.
Mm-hmm.
He comes into this year, and that Vic Fangio is not one of those guys that's just going to blow smoke. He's going to shoot it to you straight. He's going to tell you exactly how it is. When the training camp and Vic says, hey, he's got some growing up to do. He's got to get better. And as the season has gone on, you've heard a guy who's not one on throwing flowers at people say pretty much, oh my God, this guy, Nolan Smith, has come a long way. I'm proud of, how he's coming along. The Eagles needed this. They needed it because even now, my biggest question mark for this defense is pass rush. And I'm not talking about pass rush up the middle because, you saw all the holding calls today. They didn't even call them on Jalen Carter. They got like 3 or 4 of them on Milton Williams was doing work today. But where I'm most concerned with the pass rush is the 2 guys on the outside. And Nolan stepped up today. Hopefully Josh Sweat steps up. Jalix Hunt has been getting a lot of play. But to be able to have that bona fide pass rusher, that's the one area when we're talking about the defense that still concerns me the most moving forward because you got to have that. You got to have that guy. You got to have 2 of those guys, that when the chips are down, you can count on one of those guys getting home.
Yeah, and Gunnar,
the thing is, think about this. Nolan Smith might not have this opportunity that he's getting if Brandon Graham doesn't get hurt. I mean, think about this. Brandon Graham was having a good year, which would have limited Nolan Smith's reps and might have hindered his development. But because his reps were extended, we saw him accelerate time and time again throughout the course of the season to the point of where he is now. Not just the media, but fans in general. In the beginning of this season, we're talking about Nolan Smith as a bust already in the young developmental stages of his career. BG goes down. Nolan has to step his game up. Took some time, just like it did for this entire defense. Early on in the season, it was raggedy. Took some time for Vic Fangio to understand what he had on defensive personnel. Took some time for the personnel to understand individually and collectively what Vic Fangio wanted of them. Same way with Nolan Smith. Took him some time to get where he is at this point because he wasn't getting those consistent reps in games.
Gunnar, you and I talked about this a number of times throughout the offseason. This is a rookie who was talking about whether or not his shoulder worked.
Exactly.
I mean, he was literally saying it's like my baby. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I said, first off, I don't understand the analogy with a baby. Second, when it comes to a shoulder injury, what are you talking about, man? You haven't been in the NFL for 10 years here. You've been in the league for 1 year. This was after the preseason last year, Gunnar. What a turnaround for Nolan Smith.
And he's going to be counted on heavily from this point on, as long as he can stay healthy. That's the key, health. And that's the thing about this team. There's been a significant key for this team all season long has been their health. Considering how many teams we've watched and players we've watched, prominent players fall by the wayside for a lot of teams, this Eagles team had been relatively healthy all season long. Unfortunately, they've lose Nakobe Dean now. But they still have enough to get to where they need to go. Bottom line.
All right, we talked about our player to bank on. We're going to talk about our drive of the game coming up in just a moment, but make sure you guys are sticking around in that chat. We still have another giveaway. Seth just keeps the spirit of giving continuing into the new year here. We still got a football to give away. We still got a helmet to give away. And, Seth, what do we got to do? We got to follow you on all social media platforms for this, right?
No, they don't have to do that. If they want to win it, they need to be in the chat right now watching us because we're gonna pull the winner from the live chat during this show. The post-game show. And then we'll post it before the show is over so you know. So you got to be in it to win it. But you also got to stay here to make sure that you got it. because last week's winner won it and then logged off and didn't know that he won anything.
We had one person stick around. They got it, I think. The other person, not so much. Got to follow the playbook here, folks. Got to stay in the chat. Follow the show, of course, and we're going to be picking the winner for a football and a football winner for the helmet as well as the show goes on. So stick around and stay in that chat. When we come back, it was one of the best runs of this ball game, and no, it wasn't. Not by Saquon Barkley. It was by an Eagles tight end who went out to play physical today. That's when we return on the betPARX post-game show presented by Lehocky. Parx Casino, just 20 minutes north of Center City, Philadelphia. Check out all the action at Parx.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them, sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
Oof, stuck paying for that old phone? Don't be. You know, at Verizon, we'll pay off your phone, and you'll get iPhone 16 with Apple Intelligence on us. Now with Genmoji. That's a value of up to $1,600. Only on Verizon.
Most people don't know how to get the care they need. The experts at Stay at Home Care can help. Before choosing a caregiver or family member for your care, you need to apply for the Home Care Program. The application process can be complicated. Stay at Home Care can help you navigate through every step. Once approved, your caregiver or family member will receive guaranteed weekly pay, a variety of medical benefits options, paid holidays, paid vacation, and overtime pay. Call Stay at Home Care, here to help every step of the way.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Parx Casino. Welcome back to the betPARX post-game show presented by Lehocky. Marc Farzetta along with Eagles Hall of Famer Seth Joyner and veteran Eagles reporter Mr. Derrick Gunn on the heels of a 22-10 Eagles victory in the wild card round of the playoffs over the Green Bay Packers. We've talked at length about how well the defense was able to play throughout this game. There was one man in particular that really led the way offensively, and I know Saquon ended up breaking up a big run when it came to that fourth quarter. Really was consistent throughout the game as well when the Eagles would go to him. But Dallas Goedert today, this is a guy that was on IR for, 5-6 weeks it felt like? All of a sudden comes back, worked out the kinks last week in Week 18, showed that he was healthy, showed that he could be physical, contributed in the run game as well when it came to his ability to block, and then today played an extremely aggressive style of football. And gentlemen, there was no better example of that than our drive of the game brought to you by Davis Honda. What we saw today from Dallas Goedert was a man who was out there to play physical. What had happened was, all of a sudden, the Green Bay Packers found themselves on the scoreboard for the first time in the game, making it 10-3 after a field goal. The Eagles get the ball back. Now, it's important to reference this. You had Jalen Hurts start out the game 5 for 5 passing. By halftime, he was 6 for 13. That is not a good trend. Finally, in this possession, he's able to go 4 for 4, I believe, in pass plays on that drive, ending with Dallas Goedert mauling a defensive back there for the Green Bay Packers, being able to take that ball into the end zone for a very physical run after catch. What impressed you about that drive, Seth, and also the physicality when it came to Dallas Goedert's run after the catch?
Well, listen, the thing that impressed me about the drive is, Jalen's and the offense's ability to read the moment. The Green Bay Packers had just scored a touchdown to pull within one score. And it was imperative that the Eagles at that point in time, put some points on the board to kind of widen the gap. Let's move it back to a two-score situation. Not only did Jalen come out and execute in a major way, but Dallas Goedert stepped up in a major way from the standpoint that, hey, he just, willed himself into the end zone. It's sad that, he has to play under this mode of operation, because if you really stop and you think about it, he knows that his targets and whatnot is going to be limited. And the fact that every single ball that comes to him, he's got to run like a madman, with his hair on fire, is just crazy. But goodness, when your quarterback only completes 13 to 14 passes in an entire game, you got to take advantage of what you can take advantage of. So I was glad to see Jalen be able to step up in the moment where it needed him to step up, because a 3-and-out in that position would have just emboldened the Green Bay Packers and put them in a mode where they really thought that they had a chance to win this game. By them scoring that touchdown, that pretty much salted the game away and sent the message. And then the defense solidified that by going 3-and-out the next series. But also just I'm happy for Dallas Goedert. It's been a tough year for him. It's been a tough couple of years. It's been hard for him to stay healthy. But when he's been healthy, my goodness, he's been great. The old saying, the old veteran saying, man, you're hell when you're well, but you're always in the tub.
The thing that was most impressive about that drive is they started out with 2 runs to Saquon. Then the last 3 plays of the drive were pass plays. One of them, a big 28-yard pass play to Devonta, takes it down to the Green Bay 33. And I loved how Jalen checked out of the play. The touchdown play, I loved how he stepped to the line of scrimmage. He saw the Packers bring an extra man. He calls his audible, hits Goddard on a quick hitch pass, and Goddard does the rest. I don't know when, how, where, or what we're going to get away from this indifference about Jalen. Did he turn the ball over today? Nope. He only missed on 7 of his passes. And okay, I know they weren't the deep shots, the home run shots, but he did what he had to do to keep the team on the offense on the field and move it down the field. He made the right calls again. And understand that he hasn't played in almost 3 weeks. I mean, what else do you want him to do? Mm-hmm. There are a whole lot of teams out there that would like to have a Jalen Hurts on the center.
Absolutely.
There's no question about it. But for some reason, the perspective of Jalen is still indifferent in a lot of ways, in a lot of circles, both locally and nationally, and I can't figure it out. Okay, he doesn't give you the best quotes, the best sound bites throughout the course of the week, stuff we can gravitate towards and use all week long. He's not going to ever give you that. He's too smart for that. He's not going to give you that stuff. He's going to give – when people kept asking him, if you remember back earlier in the week, and they kept asking him about his concussion, what did he do? Give 1- and 2-word answers. He's not going to give you what you want. Some quarterbacks, some players would be more elaborate about what they went through. Jalen says, I don't want to talk about that. That's the past. I got a game to get ready for this week. And so finally the media got it and started moving on. But they tried their best in 10, 12 different ways to get him to talk in depth about what he went through with the concussion. He's not going to do that. He keeps things close to the vest. But when he goes out on the football field, all we ask him to do, all the coaching staff asked him to do, don't turn the football over. Make the right reads, make the necessary plays, both with your arm and your feet, and everything else will take care of itself.
When it comes to that drive, the thing that I really go back to on that is, like we were saying earlier, Jalen did not have some great game. He had a great start to this game, obviously got great field position, threw the touchdown to Jahan Dotson. I would have hit the panic button if they didn't score a touchdown on that drive. And the reason is, especially on the 3rd and 3, you mentioned the 28-yard gain on the completion to Devontae Smith. That was a 3rd and 3 play where Jalen Hurts rolled out to his left, okay? He kept his eyes downfield. He hit Devontae Smith, and that ended up being a big change in the game. Then a play later, he hit Dallas Goedert for the big touchdown after that. But that's the play that Jalen Hurts has made throughout this season, where he looks like he's having a lot of struggles. He looks like he's having a tough time, and then all of a sudden, he'll make that one play that really changes the outcome of the game. The 3rd and 3 play was that play. The one that put an exclamation point on it was obviously Dallas Goedert.
Well, and the Dallas Goedert one is huge for me because it sends the message, okay, you can line up in this zero blitz if you want to. We got something for you. Because if you remember earlier, when they got down to the red zone, they had to kick that first field goal. The minute they got in the red zone after the first touchdown, the Green Bay Packers decided, hey, we're just not going to let you sit back there with great protection by this offensive line and just wait for somebody to break free. We're going to come at you. We're going to make you get rid of the ball. We're going to make you throw it on time. We're going to make you make a quick decision. They ran 3-0 blitzes in a row. Right. Jalen had to dirt them all, So the next time he's in that situation and they line up in zero look with man across the board and he checks to a quick screen, a quick toss to Dallas Goedert, AJ gets a block. He's one-on-one with the safety and just stiff-armed him all the way to – see, that's the kind of adjustment because we talk about it all the time. He's going to face it. I mean, listen, Tampa Bay, and Washington are playing right now, okay? So we're going to face one of those teams. And both of those teams in certain situations, primarily Tampa Bay, is going to show him that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So they better have an answer for it. You better have a sight adjustment. You better have a route cut off, even to the point where, we were talking about it during the game, and I said, I don't understand why they don't bring Dallas Goedert back into the formation. If you bring him back into the formation, now you got a seven-man protection. Now you can block everything up across the front, and the free runner's got to come from wide outside because you're going to step the running back up weak side. You got the tight end on the strong side, and then you step everybody down on the inside, so there's no gaps in the middle. Now you're going to buy your quarterback a little bit of time to be able to find somebody that's open. But if you're not adjusting the routes behind all of that, what difference does it make? If you're going to run all goals, you're going to run all seams, what difference does it make? So they've got to get to a place, and that was encouraging to see him do that today, that, okay, you want to come with zero blitz? I look, there's no safety in the hole. No two high safety, no one single high safety. There's nobody back there. It's a dead giveaway. Dead giveaway. Even the linebackers are walked up in the line, okay? So I got to figure out, what is my adjustment going to be? Where am I going to go with the football? Because I'm only going to have a split second to make a decision. Am I going to throw it to Dallas Goedert here? Am I going to get AJ on the slant? Can I bring somebody in motion? Or can I go max protect, go to a two-man route, and bet on either AJ or Devontae winning the battle?
All right, I have to ask you guys this question because I know it's going to be picked up on social media platforms and whatnot. A.J. Brown was not exactly a very much targeted receiver in this game. At one point, he got in some light inspirational reading on the sideline.
Inner excellence. I've never heard of the book before.
Neither have I. I don't think you or I, Gunnar, are two gentlemen that need to read it. Thank you. But what was with that? What did you make of it? Because I didn't like it one bit. I thought that was a me guy mentality.
I'm not going to say I liked it or not, but I'm sure there are coaches out there. There's certain coaches out there. I don't think he would have done that if he was playing for their teams. But Nick Sirianni runs a little bit looser ship, maybe, And obviously, when you think about some of the players' type mindset that they have on this team, from AJ's to Jalen Carter, sometimes you treat him with a kid glove. Now, obviously, he was frustrated. He only had 3 targets, 1 catch for 10 yards. Big-time receivers want to make big-time plays all the time. But you have to understand when you have a team with this kind of wealth of talent on it, someday is your day, someday it isn't. I mean, the leading receiver for this team had 4 catches. I mean, that's unbelievable. But he wasn't that guy. Mm-hmm. So, you know what? As long as he wasn't being disruptive, as long as he wasn't throwing his helmet, as long as he wasn't getting his quarterback's face, as long as he wasn't jaw-jacking with one of the coaches and being animated negatively, hey, you know what? Let him sit in his isolated bubble and do what the heck he wants to do.
Seth, little light reading on the sidelines.
That wouldn't happen in Seth's day.
Yeah, it would.
I mean, just the thought that you could actually do that during the game, And then here's the question I'll ask you guys. Would you rather have him read a quick passage of inner excellence to woo-saw himself in that moment? Or would you rather have him stand at his locker and talk about passing?
Let him read.
When you ask 15 questions and the only answer he's got is passing. Which one do you want?
Well, I mean, why does it have to be that or this or that? Obviously, yes, I'd rather just have him have the book on the sideline, I guess. But it's like him having a book there that says that on the sideline. Like, I don't know if that's been there all year or not. I would imagine it has not been. And to your point, I'm a little surprised you're not allowed to have a phone or anything like that on the sideline. I think they might call that contraband or something. I don't know.
Somebody's got phones on the sideline because these guys are posting on social media at all times. It might not be them in particular, but some of these quality control people, some of these people that are helping on the sideline, they taking pictures and videos and all that kind of nonsense.
First of all, who had the book on the sideline? Did he bring it out deliberately? Did somebody give it to him?
Let me tell you.
Who brings a book to the sideline?
Let me tell you how this transpired.
Okay.
So AJ didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, correct?
Right.
Okay. So when he rolled into practice for walkthrough on Saturday, yesterday, he took a look at the game plan. He went back to his locker. He said, I'm going to need this tomorrow.
Come on, man. Come on,
He said, I'm going to need this tomorrow.
Come on, man.
D-Gun, the only way that you do what he did is that you knew you wasn't getting the damn ball today.
Okay. If that is
it was premeditated. 1,000% premeditated.
Come on.
I'm not getting the ball. I better bring a book.
Do you think he would have done that had he been playing for John Harbaugh? Kyle Shanahan?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, heck no.
No, AJ is AJ.
Hey, look.
See,
The 49ers have
D-Gun, I'm not falling. See the reporter coming out in you now. I'm not falling for that one. I'm not going to throw Sirianni under the bus.
I'm not throwing him under the bus. I'm just saying Sirianni runs a little bit different ship. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm not throwing Sirianni under the bus.
But you know, when you're making $30 million a year, though, you're a little more emboldened to try and do some things, especially when you just re-upped on your deal. It's like the old saying, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Right, of course.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this.
So you do it, and, you know, somebody's going to come to him and be like, hey, man, that, you know, you got the C on your chest. You can't be doing, all right, coach, I got you. It's my bad.
Okay.
Then you move on.
Okay. All right. How many games have we watched outside of the Eagles games this season? Think about this, okay? Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night. You see anybody else the whole season read the doggone book on the sideline?
There's only one A.J. Brown.
Have you, yes or no?
How many A.J. Browns?
It's been
yes or no?
It's been a frustrating year for A.J., and however we can get this brother some therapy to get him through,
He said therapy.
I'm all for it.
Hey, look,
man.
frustrating. The man has 67 catches total for the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
And still had over 1,000 yards receiving. How frustrating can it be?
And tell me how many games he missed.
He missed, what, 4 games? But you know he had 1,000 yards.
I understand that, but when you're the number one wide receiver, man, you know how these diva receivers are, man. When you're the number one guy, when you're receiver one, you go into a game, there's been games where A.J., when Kenny Pickett took over, A.J. got 15 targets in that game, man. Okay? So he's come to expect that that's the way that it should be. And even though he knows that that way of playing is not conducive to them getting to the Super Bowl this year, because this year is different than any other year, that doesn't mean that deep down inside he don't need some therapy, bro.
Okay, so what's next? We're going to see players having food delivered on the sideline, having special deliveries on the sideline, pizza, burgers, fries, whatever.
Last week he was tired. He took a nap.
That's true. Well, he didn't play. That's different. Now, he didn't play the whole game.
Hey, listen.
Come on, man. He's sitting in front of that heater.
Still got to be.
It's cold as heck out there.
Still got to be engaged, though. You still got to be engaged.
I agree.
He took a nap last week. Yeah. He read a book this week.
Yeah.
He might be hungry in the third quarter next week. They might need to bring him a hot dog or something.
On, man.
Yeah, what's the evolution of this? He took a nap, then a book. What's next? He's going to have a little iPad watching TV? He's got to have something like that as it continues to evolve. That's why I love Jalen Hurts, man. The main thing is the main thing. And he doesn't need to therapy. I don't know. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk to Bailey Livesey. She's been monitoring the chat, seeing what you guys have been talking about throughout the show to this point. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel on the heels of this 22-10 Eagles victory in the first round of the postseason. Back after this. The Sportsbook here at Parx Casino. Get in on all the action in a lap of luxury. Win yourself some cash.
At Pond Lehocky Giordano, we understand the impact an injury can have on your life. Our experienced attorneys have recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we know we can do the same for you. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Since 1893, Weber Display and Packaging has been Pennsylvania's leading manufacturer of corrugated packaging and displays. We're family-owned with 4 Philadelphia locations, 2 converting facilities, a warehouse, and a fulfillment center. Designed through delivery, we exceed customer needs. Weber Display and Packaging. Our core values drive everything we do. Come join our team.
This is PARX.
This is how you roll. This is how it goes. This is how you pop. This is how you rock. Take a chance, do a dance, little romance. This is how you. This is how you win. This is how you excite. This is how you all night. 360 hit me. Now we're going all in. I can feel it calling. The crowd, the light, the night, the sights, the vibe is right. This is how you. This is
PARX, Pennsylvania's #1 casino experience. This is how you win. At Revolution X, we know that fortunes are made in times of uncertainty. Are you selling your investment real estate? Are you interested in deferring your tax with a 1031 exchange? At RevX, we're experts in 1031 exchange planning and the use of passive real estate options using DSTs. Not in the midst of an exchange and want to invest in real estate but don't know where to start? Revolution X has institutional grade real estate options for any size investor right now. Set up a consultation at RevXWealth.com. RevX, defer the tax, maximize the gain.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Lehocky. Welcome back to the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. Marc Farzetta, Seth Joyner, Derrick Gunn with you right after the Eagles taking care of business against those Green Bay Packers by the score of 22-10. Right now, we've been monitoring the chat all show long. Bailey Livesey is standing by, our social media coordinator, in a fine Eagles-inspired jacket, I might add. Very nice, Bailey. How are you?
Well, thank you, Mark. I am doing so good, and thank you to Seth and his wife for this amazing jacket. It's my lucky jacket now. But I'm doing good. You know, I was feeling a little uneasy there, as I think we all were, but the Eagles pulled through, and now we have some big questions lined up to dive into. So for our first one, the defense performed great. Are there any concerns with the loss of Nakobe Dean?
I mean, I thought Nakobe Dean was playing very well. Had one missed tackle in the early goings of the game and then seemed to settle in, but Oren Burks got some run towards the end of the season, and he certainly was looking aggressive, especially on special teams.
Or Trot Jr. I mean, it could be Trot Jr. as well. I mean, anytime you lose a frontline player, you have concerns. But a lot of teams, when they lose frontline players, the depth drops off significantly. You hate losing to Nakobe Dean, but I don't see the depth dropping off significantly because of the scheme that Vic Fangio runs. So whether it's Oren Burks or, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., I think they'll be fine. Will it be as consistent, as stellar as Nakobe Dean has been playing as of late? Remains to be seen. But as bad as I feel for Nakobe, I feel pretty good about whoever steps into that situation.
I'm a little concerned.
Yeah.
Because I watched the little small details. There was, a pass play where Oren had Zach Bond outside of him, and the ball was thrown underneath in the zone. And he broke on the ball, and he wound up knocking Zach Bond off the tackle. And the guy runs the ball for a first down. A couple of times, he didn't fit primarily where he needed to fit. And I don't think he's as good in coverage as Nakobe Dean is. So I think that there are some things that you do lose because Nakobe had been operating at such a high level of efficiency. I don't think it's going to hurt the Eagles a whole hell of a lot. But I don't think it's going to help him a whole hell of a lot not having him on the field because neither young Trot or Oren Burks can bring the level of play that Nakobe Dean was playing at. So you do lose a little something there. You just hope that the defensive front can help make up for it and that teams don't begin to game plan him in the passing side of, what they do. I don't know. It's sad to see, what's happened. I don't know whether whatever was going on with the core muscle deal that he had before, whether it was that or whether it's a lower leg. I don't know exactly, what the situation is, but, he seemed pretty peeved about it, and when a player reacts that way, it's usually not good.
Yeah, what was it? Was it an ankle that knocked him out of the game today? Gunner?
I believe it was the ankle.
Yeah, he had the abdominal last week. That was an injury, and then this week the ankle. We'll have our sports doc, Dr. Bruce Grossinger, on with us coming up in our next segment to hopefully give us some more information on that. But you're right. Oren Burks, when you talk about in coverage, was a liability today. And we've talked already on the show about guys who have really taken care of their stock and have their stock rise this year. No better example than Zach Bond. We talked about Nolan Smith. Jalen Carter, we knew could be great and has been this season. But then you talk about Nakobe Dean. He was not a guy that many people thought was going to be a starting linebacker on this team. I mean, you got to go back to the beginning of the year. We're talking about Devin White on this team, whether or not he's going to come in there and really do some great things. He went on to play 31% of the snaps for the Texans, I believe it was. But Nakobe Dean has been another one who's really helped his stock on this Eagles defense. So he'll be missed. Oren Burks has a week to get better in coverage, so we'll see if that happens. But yeah, you could definitely say concerned, but not too concerned. Bailey, what else do you have for us?
Well, Seth, you often talk about how underutilized Dallas Goedert is. How great was it to see him perform so well today?
Listen, it doesn't surprise me. Nothing that Dallas Goedert does ever surprises me. I just think that, he's such a weapon that they could utilize, that they underutilize in a lot of ways. And it's just proof. Listen, there's nothing wrong with Grant Calcaterra. Grant Calcaterra is a good pass-catching tight end. The truth of the matter is he's not the blocker that Dallas Goedert is. He's not the yak guy that Dallas Goedert is. And for Jalen, it's a great weapon to have. Like every other quarterback in the National Football League uses his tight end in a way that benefits him. He's a safety blanket. He's the guy that he can go to in situations where he needs first down. He's the outlet, when everything goes to hell in a handbasket. I don't understand why the Eagles haven't implemented Dallas Goedert in that manner, because I certainly think that he could be one of those guys that changes, the dynamic of your offense. But, when you got AJ on one side and Devontae on the other, not a whole lot of balls to go around, especially when you're only asking your quarterback to throw it 21 times a game. Certainly, he's going to be one rung above a Jahan Dotson, if you will. And, he had more targets in the last 2 weeks than he probably had in the whole season.
One of the things that always sticks out to me about Dallas Goedert is not just obviously what he could do catching the football as a receiving target, but what he can also do in the run game. And this has remained true going years back, even his rookie season, second year in the league, rather. I remember Jason Kelce talking about losing Dallas Goedert right after pregame warm-ups. I believe it was at that Atlanta game in Atlanta where 3 Eagles players got hurt right after warm-ups and had to miss the game. And Jason Kelce said later that week that when Dallas Goedert left, they almost had to throw away 50% of their run scheme because Dallas Goedert wasn't going to be there on the edges to block. And that's how valuable he is, not just as a receiver, or as a receiving threat, but also as a guy that can block for guys like Saquon Barkley and even Kenny Gainwell. And I thought he showed that again tonight. So Dallas Goedert, put me down as a fan as well.
Do you think you'll be here in 2025, though?
I have a lot of concern about that, Gunner. Why you got to go negative, man?
No, that's not negative, man. I asked you a question.
I have my concern. In all honesty, I have my concern about that.
You look at the list of Eagles' potential free agents after this season. At the top of the pecking order in terms of bringing him back has to be the Zach Bond. There's no question about it. After that, when you look at the list of players, okay, you have Mekhi Becton, Josh Sweat, Oren Burks, Isaiah Rodgers. Who most concerns you?
So far, the only 2 guys I have above Dallas Goedert are Zach Bond and Mekhi Becton.
Okay. See, so what is their priority on him? And he understands the situation. I mean, when he came in, Zach Ertz was the odd man out. Once they emerged that Goedert was ready to be the guy, Zach Ertz was the guy on his way out. Now, as Seth talked about earlier, unfortunately, the last couple of seasons, his seasons have been injury riddled. Unfortunately, he is not the blocker that Calcaterra is not the blocker that he is. But if you let go of a Goedert, then they're going to be looking for a tight end, whether it's in free agency or the upcoming draft, to replenish that stock. There's a part of me that believes Howie Roseman, when he identifies people he wants to keep, he takes care of the situation. But he also understands there's other needs for this team if they want to keep this train moving in the right direction in 2025 and beyond. I would love to see Dallas Goedert staying here, but I'm on the fence. I'm teetering on the fence. I'm 50-50 at this point.
Seth, that's been a concern of yours all year.
Well, I was hoping he had a great year to kind of force their hand, but, they haven't given him the opportunity, and he hadn't stayed, healthy enough at the other end of the spectrum as well. But then, D-Gun, the question I have is, though, normally they have a succession plan. You went from
L.J. Smith to Brent Selleck.
Well, L.J. Smith.
I was just thinking of it in my head, too, because I was thinking about the succession plan also.
No,
Selleck
sell it to Ertz.
Ertz, yeah.
Ertz to Goedert.
But I wanted to show how low it could be first. I wanted to establish the base, and then
that was really scratching the bottom of the barrel right there. So is your succession plan to go to Grant Calcaterra? And once you walk away from or you move off of Dallas Goedert, now the big question is, who's your blocking tight end?
Oh, true.
If you want to run 12 personnel, most of the other tight ends you have on your team, they're all pass catchers.
True.
Jink is a pass catcher. Jack Stoll, even though he's on the, he's a blocker, but he's not a premier blocker.
Right.
I mean, the list goes on and on. So now are you looking for that new guy next year? Are you looking to draft that other guy if you move off of Dallas Goedert? I just think that there's so much value there that this may wind up being one of those situations where Howie says, okay, go shop the market.
Yeah.
Let's see what your value is going to be on the outside. Bring us back, your best offer, and we'll move from there. Maybe it's one of those situations, but
Hey, Dallas wasn't a great blocker his first couple of years when he got here. He developed into an outstanding blocker. I would send Calcaterra to the school of hard knocks and Jeff Stoutland. I'd make him spend all offseason with Stoutland.
Yeah, the problem is he just don't have the size.
Maybe you're right.
When you look at Dallas Goedert, he's an imposing figure.
Absolutely.
6'4", 6'5", probably about 245 pounds. He's a big dude, man. Grant Calcaterra, man, he is 6'2", 6'3", with his cleats on.
True. But the bottom line, Seth, you can't keep everybody.
No, I get it.
You know what I mean? When you have priorities, you can't keep everybody.
I get it.
And,
But not only can Dallas be a good blocker,
absolutely,
against edge rushers.
Yes.
But when you got Micah Parsons crashing the edge, Grant Calcaterra ain't stopping Micah Parsons from crashing. But that's my point. That's my point.
But that's now how he has to determine what's the value in terms of keeping him compared to money you may have to dish out for somebody else you want to keep him as well.
And maybe the Eagles are just at the point now also where they're like, hey, this dude can't stay healthy. It's like every single year, he's 3 games here, 2 games there, 5 games here.
Yeah.
You never know.
Fair enough. Bailey, one more for us?
Yes, well, as we go into another week of playoffs, what team would you rather see us play next week?
So the options, unfortunately, are not the Commanders, because the Commanders would be the low seed if they win, so they'd play the Lions. So the Eagles right now can play Tampa Bay, the 3 seed, who are up now 3-0 on the Commanders. The Vikings, the 5 seed, or the Rams, the 4 seed. So that's how that one would go. Do you have a preference, gentlemen, of those? Do you want the revenge factor against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Do you want to take on the Vikings and make a statement against a team that had a phenomenal record despite being the 5 seed? Or do you want to try to take it to the L.A. Rams again for the second time this season?
I'd rather see him play the Rams. I don't think the Rams' defense is all that impressive. Matthew Stafford, when he has those 2 receivers at his disposal, Kupp and Nakoa, they can do some damage on offense, but I think the Eagles can control the game like they did the first time they played them. I don't like an Eagles team facing a Todd Bowles defense. And Minnesota, let's face it, Minnesota doesn't scare me, but Minnesota can score. When Sam Darnold gets in a rhythm, Minnesota can score. And I don't know if I want to see a shootout with this Eagles team, because you just never know in shootouts what might happen. Mm-hmm. So I would say my pick would be against the Rams.
I always have an opinion, but, about these types of matters. But I'm at the place now where I really don't care. I really don't. Because I think, when the Eagles play their brand of football, they can beat anybody. I'm not afraid of Minnesota and their high-flying offense, right, because I know that Sam Darnold at any minute could Jekyll and Hyde it like he did, against Detroit in Week 18. I'm not worried about the Rams because, we already went out there and mud stumped them, and Saquon rushed for 255 yards on them.
Yeah.
And then now they got to fly across the country after a game tonight and come play us in 30-degree weather.
Right.
And I'm certainly not afraid of the Detroit Lions. There's some things about the Lions, that I've been studying, some things that I'd like to share with you guys at some point in time and share with, the public. It doesn't make any sense until we get to that bridge, crossing it to talk about what it is that Detroit really is and how they operate and what their DNA is and how you have to alter it and how you have to morph along with them. But there's not a team in the National Football League right now that scares me, as far as these Eagles are concerned. I think that whoever they play, they can stand tall and play with anyone in this league.
Absolutely,
and get the job done, point blank. Even the teams in the AFC.
I'm with you. And even talking about postseason matchups for Week 1, Commanders, Packers, you want to come into South Philadelphia, you want to come into Lincoln Financial Field, take on this defense and take on this offense. And I thought Jalen Hurts wasn't going to be perfect today. I was concerned about rust. Turns out first 5 plays, fantastic. Little rusty in the middle there, if that's a thing. And then when he had to be clutch, he was clutch. I feel even better because I feel like this is going to be the worst game Jalen Hurts has in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And he played pretty damn well. Played pretty damn clutch today. I could say that. But, yeah, I could say bring on them all. But I want to see, in terms of the easiest road, I'd rather face the Rams than anybody else. Revenge factor, I'd love to see Tampa Bay again, especially here in Philadelphia. But when it comes to the Vikings, Gunner, you mentioned it, that's a high-scoring offense. And if you're not on point offensively speaking, then that could very well develop into a shootout.
Well, but then he's also talking, D. Gunn, along the lines that, let's not forget that we're the number 1 ranked defense in the National Football League.
Right.
Not only in total offense, but versus the pass, okay? So while some may have these fears, about how we operate offensively, the thing that makes this such a uniquely good football team is the symmetry that they have and that they play with such a complementary nature among themselves, okay? If the offense isn't getting it done, the defense usually gets it done until the offense can find its footing. Mm-hmm. It happened in week 1. It just happened again tonight. And it's happened throughout the year, okay? So your mindset has to be along the right lines, okay? The special teams have got to do their job. And they got to be able to support both the offense and the defense. And the defense and the offense has got to be able to support each other. When one unit's not clicking, the other two has got to pick it up. When one unit isn't clicking, the other two has got to pick it up. And it doesn't matter what those combos are. That's why you have 3 phases in the game of football. So when one's not doing what it needs to do, the other 2 phases will pick them up and carry them until they can get to where they need to be. Mm.
All right, Bailey Livesey, our social media coordinator, thank you so much for monitoring the chat and keeping us abreast of everything going on in that situation. Thank you so much, Bailey.
Of course, anytime. Thank you.
Absolutely. Bailey Livesey joining us right there. When we come back, we're going to talk to the sports doc himself, Dr. Bruce Grossinger. Unfortunately, a lot of injuries in this game. Packers had a lot of injuries in this game. Eagles suffered a bad loss in this one when Nicole beat Dean.
I had deja vu tonight.
Oh, yeah?
Looked like a little bit of a body bag to me.
We'll be right back here on the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. The Beer Garden here at Parx Casino. Enjoy a fine stein and take in a game.
Oof. Stuck paying for that old phone? Don't be. At Verizon, we'll pay off your phone. And you'll get iPhone 16 with Apple Intelligence on us. Now with Genmoji. That's a value of up to $1,600. Only on Verizon.
And the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed. Has a friend ever told you a story about an accident and someone says,
you should probably sue them.
Forget your friend. Call Lehocky Giordano.
We're an injury law firm that's recovered billions of dollars for our clients.
And with our vast network of attorneys throughout the country, we know we can do the same for you.
So if you've been injured in an accident, give Lehocky a call.
One conversation is all it takes, and you won't pay a dime until we win.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Did you know that Davis Honda will pay top dollar for your car? Go to DavisBuysCars.com and get an instant quote on your vehicle. We'll make the purchase as easy as possible and put cash in your hand faster than you can say DavisBuysCars.com.
Sell your car to us, no hassle, no fuss. DavisBuysCars.com.
Gentlemen, are you ready for a wardrobe update? Introducing Divine Nine's Custom Menswear, your clothier for truly unique, custom-made threads. With Divine Nine, you can design your own one-of-a-kind suit, jacket, slacks, shirts, golf pants, and shorts, perfectly handcrafted by our skilled artisans who will bring your vision to life. Prepare to stand out from the crowd with Divine Nine's Custom Clothier, official clothier of Seth Joyner. Custom clothing made for you.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Verizon. Welcome back to the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. Marc Farzetta along with Seth Joyner and Derrick Gunn. Don't forget, in this segment, we're going to be giving away an autographed football, an autographed helmet. You have to be in the chat, and we're going to select a winner from this chat. So while we're talking to the doctor, as we continue to break down the game, make sure you're staying in the chat. We're going to select a winner of the football and the helmet here on the Seth Joyner show. So make sure you're following it all. When it comes to this game, gentlemen, I know we talked a lot about Nolan Smith. We talked a lot about Dallas Goedert and Jalen Hurts' overall performance. When you talk about Darius Slay, had a huge interception in this game, then unfortunately left for a while with what looked like to be a shoulder injury, then came back into the game. I joked on social media during the play, Darius Slay has not shown that kind of speed all season long. He was saving every knot of speed on that one, every mile per hour to have that catch-up speed to make that interception. I didn't think he had it left in the tank anymore, Seth.
And listen, if you got good technique, which he had, he knew he had man coverage on probably their fastest wide receiver, Wicks, that was up at the time, and he was in prime position. He was in prime position, right where you need to be. He played the receiver's eyes. When a receiver looked back for the ball, he looked back for the ball, and the ball just happened to fall in the basket.
The thing of beauty, it started off the second quarter.
Merry Christmas in January.
You know what? I'm just happy.
Christmas came late this year.
I'm happy to see him make that play because he has been chastised so much this season.
By us.
Over the hill. Not just by us, yes, by everybody that watches the Eagles. I mean, and you know, he's admitted himself that at times he hasn't played his best. You know, he's over the hill. He's too old. He's lost the steps, so on and so forth. I'm just glad to see him if only for a moment in time, he gets some of that negativity off his back, because whoever they play next week, he's going to have to step his game up even more so if he can stay on the field. I mean, it seems like every game we watch him play, he plays for a while, goes out, and then comes back in. I get it. Okay. Bottom line, he's still there. He's that savvy vet that they need on that corner for right now.
Man, you know what that's like, man. Every once in a while you step off the curb and, throw your hip out.
Come on, man.
Every once in a while, you go pick something up in your garage and slip a disc.
Oh, man. Hey,
listen, I know.
You ain't lying, man.
I know. I've been there. I'm there right now. That's why when I meet people, they're like, man, oh, you look like you can still play. Oh, no. Oh, no. Au contraire, my friend. No, I cannot. But there's times where I reach down to tie my shoes, and it's a chore.
Oh, man. And you come up talking about, whoa! I know. I'm there. I'm there with you.
All right. Well, before we get to the doctor, I've never asked you this question, Seth. I'm going to ask you this question real quick. What's a bigger compliment to you when somebody comes up and says, oh, I remember that body bag game, and you did this or you did that or whatever? Is somebody highlights one play, or somebody today says, man, you look like you can still play? What's a bigger compliment?
Hey, listen, man. A lot of guys are, they live by this old adage, the older you get, the greater you were. So I'm gonna always reach back to the past.
Oh wow!
I know what my limitations are. There is nothing left that I could do. If I jogged out on the field, and then they called timeout and I came off, that's all I got left. Okay. It's going to be hard for me to even get the uniform on, D-Gun. So I'm not living in that world. I'm not living in that fantasy world. Man. It will always be about that play back in the day.
Okay.
For me personally.
All right. Fair enough. Let's get to the sports doc. Dr. Bruce Grossinger joining us right now. Dr. Bruce, first and foremost, thank you so much for joining us. Second, we're a little concerned with Nakobe Dean here. What do you know about him? Obviously, it looks like he's going to be done. What can you tell us about Nakobe Dean?
Well, I heard the same thing as D. Gunn heard, that it's a serious left knee injury. He left the locker room with crutches. And we obviously we think about certain types of injuries like ACL tears and cruciate tears. And it's such a shame because he's really had such a great season. And if indeed the preliminary reports are as such, then he would most likely require surgery and he'd be done.
Mm-hmm. We just referenced Darius Slay leaving the game for a time, ended up coming back onto the field. What do you know about big play Slay?
What I heard is he had an elbow injury. They announced on the big Jumbotron that he had an elbow injury and was questionable to return. And indeed, he came back later in the game and was able to finish the game. So it seems like he always seems to go out for one reason or another, but was able to complete the game.
I err on the side of this thing being serious for Nakobe Dean. I feel bad for him, Doc. But, a lot of times you can tell by a player's reaction, how serious the injury really is. And he kind of laid there on the ground, waited for his teammates to help him up. And then, once the training staff got out on the field and started questioning him about what was going on, he kind of took his helmet off and slammed it on the ground. That indicates to me that it's very serious. And I just feel bad for the kid because, this team is on a run. He's been an integral part of it. And now all of a sudden, like Brandon Graham, he's going to have to watch, from the wings. He's going to have to watch from the sideline and think about what could have been.
Yeah, I agree. And often with an ACL tear, we don't know the pathology, but there's often a pop. The player will often feel a pop and then lose, basically the knee slides forward. And much like the Achilles, the player often knows before anybody else, and that is my fear. And that's, as we know, it's a surgical injury. These days, you could come back 5 to 6 months. The old days, it was at least a year. But it's really sad because he and Zach Bond have been the pillars of this linebacker squad. It's a shame to see that he may not be able to go further in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Dr. Bruce, what can you tell me about Jalen Hurts and what went into him being available today? Because it seemed like a very long, drawn-out process for him to clear concussion protocol. Came out today, obviously looked great initially. Then there was some bumps in the road along the way. But just in terms of his recovery to get to be available for today's game, what can you tell me about that?
Well, he passed the last few stages of the concussion protocol earlier in the week, was able to practice Wednesday and Thursday. So he really had to take simulated hits. He had to do cardio, and he had to be symptom-free. That is, no headaches, no dizziness. He was tested every day with various mental status examinations. And again, as you gentlemen noted, he managed the game very well. There were no turnovers. And as so I didn't see any ill effects relating to the concussion per se. And when he had to run, he ran the ball, and he had some key throws to Devontae Smith. So as far as I could tell, I thought he managed the game well. It was kind of a slogfest. The Packers really loaded 8 men in the box. They limited Saquon. There were no huge runs, and I thought the Packers had a reasonable defensive situation. They lost a lot of their guys. When Dubs went out, they really were down to Wicks and Jacobs. Really, they were their only weapons, and so I think the Eagles managed the game well. And attending the game, it wasn't a pretty victory, but they won by 12, and I thought they managed the game well, and they're moving on.
Doc, I don't mean to be funny or anything, but I tell you what, there was a point in time in the game where I turned to the guys in the green room and I said, man, maybe Jalen's got some residual, concussion symptoms going on because, like Mark said, the first 5 passes, 5 for 5, boom, boom, out of the box. And then all of a sudden, you look up and, he misses the next 8 passes or 7 passes. So you just wonder sometimes in the midst of that, there was a couple of runs, a couple of times it looked like he might have bumped his head on the ground again, via replay. You just never know what the circumstances are. But, like I said, I'm not trying to be funny about it. It's not a joking matter, concussions. But there was a point in time in the game where, I kind of wondered out loud whether, there was some residual effects of, what he had been dealing with over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the same thing you did, and I can't comment on it specifically. And Jalen, as you know, he's been coached very well not to really say anything. The reporters were asking him about the concussion, and he just said, I'm past it, and he's very professional about that. I also think the Packers, had a good scheme. He was running for his life too, and they were covering him very well. They were covering particularly AJ. And, he managed the game. But, I can't say, and even if he did experience any recurrent signs, I'm pretty sure Jalen wouldn't admit that to anybody.
Doc, last one from me. I know you're a huge Eagles fan in your own right, but you also happen to be a doctor. I'm watching these games, and I'm seeing him take off on those runs, and I'm yelling, slide, slide, slide in our green room. When you have the expertise that you have, the education that you have in this field, are you thinking something similar, and are you looking for something specifically when someone's running like that, just coming off concussion, for them to play the game, not that you could ever play football safely, but as safe as possible?
You make a very good point. Well, I thought Jalen had some really good slides. I think the Phillies would be proud of him. And also, if you noticed, Jalen would run out of bounds. If you watch Lamar Jackson, he really had an awesome performance. Lamar will always cut it back to the middle. And Jalen was looking to run out of bounds and to slide. So I think as much as he had it in his control, he was trying to manage himself as opposed to turning upfield like we saw with Lamar, who's very scary. And I think the Ravens, to me, off point with the medicine, they look like the scariest team that I've seen so far.
I'll tell you what about Jalen. It's funny because I was having a conversation with some friends just the other night and talking about, running backs and quarterbacks when they get out in the open, cutting back to the inside. I played a little tailback, a little fullback when I was in high school, and I can remember breaking the pocket, breaking outside one time and turning it back inside, and my coach came over to me, put his arm around me and said, son, when you get outside, you stay outside. He said, all the bad people on the inside. So the fact that Jalen is getting out of bounds and sliding outside, I'm okay with that because those bad guys, those headhunters, those guys are coming from the inside. And we surely don't want him cutting back inside, being back in the concussion protocol all over again. So I'm glad that he's approaching this thing the way that he has.
Well, Seth, I've seen you throughout your whole career. You were absolutely one of those headhunters, and you were the guy looking for the cutback on the inside.
Absolutely.
And back in those days, they wouldn't call any penalties against you. And I kind of, for even being a doctor, I enjoyed the Rough Rider play, and you're the best hitter I know. And in my view, off point again. If you're not in the Hall of Fame, there's something wrong with that.
Of course you loved him. He was giving you business. I mean, you're seeing all these players. He's knocking out of games.
He was. Yeah, when things are a little bit slow, Seth would knock somebody out, and they'd come in, as you would say, very woozy.
Dr. Bruce in cahoots. In cahoots. Dr. Bruce Grosser, thanks so much for joining us as always, my friend.
Thanks again, and on we go to next week.
On we go to next week, exactly. Look forward to talking to you about that game as well. When we come back, we have an answer, gentlemen, to the burning question. How long has that book been on the sidelines? I got the answer for you. Oh, we got an answer.
Okay.
I'm a bit of a sleuth. A bit of a gumshoe.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll give you the answer to that. Also,
sleuth or sloth? I'm sorry.
Depending on what day of the week, my friend. All right, when we come back, we'll break that down as well as the rest of this football game. Jalen Hurts' performance overall and how great the defense was in today's game. And we have the giveaway. That'll be after this as well when we return here on the betPARX postgame show presented by Lehocky. Sportsbook here at Parx Casino. Enjoy it all in a lap of luxury. Win yourself some cash.
Pride, passion, and persistence. These are the values that drive us all at Ron Jaworski Golf. We strive to deliver outstanding conditions as well as playability for golfers of all ages and abilities. Our championship golf courses offer a variety of challenges from a link-style walk along the river to an escape into the pines and everything in between. My team at Ron Jaworski Golf is committed to delivering memorable experiences every single day. See all we do at ronjaworskigolf.com.
It's happening again. Those missed tackles are starting to stack up. Your friends pleading with players who can't hear them. Sweating it out week after week. But not you. Why? Because whether they score or not, there's always another way to win on the betPARX app. New casino users score up to $1,000 bonus back in their first 24 hours.
At Pond Lehocky, we're neither a pond nor a hockey team. In fact, I don't even know how to skate.
Cut.
We're the injury law firm that you want fighting for you.
With our vast network of attorneys across the country, we know the playbook on injury law.
It's how Pond Lehocky recovered billions of dollars for more than 100,000 injured and disabled workers.
And we know we can do the same for you.
So give Pond Lehocky a call. No other law firm will fight harder for you.
And you'll never pay a dime until we win.
Oof. Stuck paying for that old phone? Don't be. You know, at Verizon, we'll pay off your phone, and you'll get iPhone 16 with Apple Intelligence on us. Now with Genmoji. That's a value of up to $1,600. Only on Verizon.
This upcoming segment is brought to you by Stay at Home Home Care. Welcome back to the betPARX postgame show presented by Pond Lehocky. Gentlemen, before we go any further, we ran a little late overtime. That's my fault. I take full responsibility. I got to do a better job of putting my teases in a better position to deliver to you. So for the people watching in the chat, we do have our winner announcement for the football and the helmet as well. M. White is the winner from our chat. Congratulations on staying in our chat, M. White. Maybe it's Mike. Maybe it's Mark. Maybe it's Matt. Maybe it's Marissa. I don't know. These are all the things we're just throwing out there. We don't know. But congratulations to you, White. Congratulations. Thanks for watching. Thanks for staying in that chat. You have won the football and the helmet. So congratulations. Thanks for staying with us. Fellas, before we get out of here in our final segment, I want to make sure that we highlight everything throughout this game that we could possibly highlight and what led to this Eagles win. And as we started the show, we talked about the defense being the start of the show. We highlighted Nolan Smith as our player to bank on in this game. We talked about Dallas Goedert on the offensive side of things. But the one thing that I referenced in the opening segment was encouraging. When you talk about a win like this, yes, it's great to win in the playoffs. That's ultimately what matters. But when you also win in the playoffs, you want to look at a team that looks like it's ready to win a Super Bowl. How encouraged were you when it came to the Eagles' odds of completing that goal by their performance today?
You know, D-Gun, everybody wants to act like, you know, the Eagles have got to play this perfect game in order to get to where they want to go.
Right.
What people don't realize is that, you know, who the Eagles are, you know, they've shown today who they've been all season long. So you go 14-3, and you play in your first preseason game, and the mode of operation has been pretty similar to what it's been all season long. But yet and still people aren't pleased because they want you to go out and blow the doors off of a team that's in the playoffs like yourself that has double-digit wins, you know, 2 or 3 shy where you are. You know, they're not going to play another team in the playoffs this year with less than 12 to 13 wins. You know, so it's going to be a battle of attrition. No team's going to come in and lay down and just let you run roughshod all over them. You know, I mean, Buffalo won a game today, but they played against a young team. You know, when you're playing against a team with a little more experience, you know, the Green Bay Packers are a football team that's been to the that's been in the playoffs before. That was like this close to beating, you know, San Francisco last year and potentially advancing, you know, to the NFC Championship game. So the dynamics are a little bit different, you know, and I think this expectation that the Eagles are going to play this perfect game, you know, on any given week, I think that's unrealistic because football is an imperfect game. I am no less encouraged, Mark, with the possibility and the belief that the Eagles can get to the promised land to get back to the Super Bowl and contend for a Super Bowl because the way that they play football and the way that they've played football and won 14 out of 17 games this year all year long is the same way that they won playing this playoff game.
I mean, Green Bay was one of the top 7 offenses in the league. They held Green Bay to just over 300 yards. Defense had 3 interceptions. Okay? Turnovers are huge in playoff games. There's no question about it. They had 107 yards rushing. Josh Jacobs, 81, but he didn't do a lot of damage. He had the 1 touchdown. He didn't get off like he normally can get off. The passing game for the most part was non-existent. They didn't have any big play. They had one big play, I believe it went for 28 or 33 yards. And Green Bay was a big play offense, especially down the field. Offensively, I mean, they had 169 yards rushing. If Saquon decided to take that one to the house, it'd have been close to 200 yards rushing in this game today. He decided to sit down and says, you know what, I'm not going to stick it to him, which is a classy move on his part.
Not a man to me.
Yeah, Seth said he would have taken him to the house and done his dance and everything.
Get to the one. No, get to the one, get down.
I would have taken it all the way to the one and then slid at the one.
And rack up
but I'm getting them yards.
Yeah, you get it. I mean, Jalen Hurts only threw 21 passes, but he completed 13. Didn't turn the ball over, had 2 touchdown passes. There's nothing wrong with being a ho-hum team sometimes, but yet being successful. The bottom line is racking up the W's more than the L's. This team keeps racking up the W's. Does it look pretty all the time as a dominant? No, it doesn't have to be. I don't care. Like I said off the top of the show, I don't care if you win 3-2, 3-0, long as you win the game and keep moving on. That's what this team is doing. And again, I attribute to some of it, maybe the regulars having a week off against the Giants, Jalen not playing for 3 weeks. Okay, so you got that rust off now. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be dominant next week because you're going to play whoever you play next week is going to be better competition than what you just played today. So the road might be a little tougher and the game might be a little even that much more closer. But if you get the job done in the end, that's all that matters. Look at how many one-score games Kansas City has won this year.
Sure.
And they got the first round bye, okay? And I expect Kansas City with a home field advantage to be right there in the AFC Championship game again. So the bottom line, do what you have to do to win. Plain and simple.
The Eagles had a 12-point win today.
12-point
They
win.
had a 12-point win. But I think some people might compare that to what they did see in the AFC in particular, and they'll see a 32-12 win by the Texans over the Chargers. Sure. So they have a 20-point win there. They have a 14-point win with the Ravens over the Steelers, and then they have a 31-7 blowout today from the Bills, and then on the receiving end, the Broncos. So I think that's what some people might compare it to. But still, it's a 12-point win with a quarterback who threw 4 passes in the final 4 weeks of the season.
If you win every playoff game by 1 game to get to the Super Bowl, does it matter?
No, because you're winning the Super Bowl.
You're in the Super Bowl.
We're parading down broad.
There you go.
I believe the
and
phrase
walking
was
up the Art Museum steps.
Well, a
all
drunken
matters.
stupor, I believe, was the
There
phrase
you
used
go.
earlier on the show.
There you go.
All right, I have the answer for you. I know it's driving everybody bonkers, but apparently A.J. Brown was asked, he was asked about the book after the game at his locker. He had said that the book, title again, do you remember?
Inner Excellence.
Inner Excellence has been with him on the sideline all season long. And apparently, his teammates referred to it as the recipe.
Recipe for what? To keep him calm?
Apparently.
The recipe for therapy.
Oh, man.
Let me just say this, and I'm not going to go any further with this. I just want to say, A.J. Brown, I don't believe you. There is no way that A.J. Brown, of all players, has had a book on the sidelines, read it throughout games, throughout the season, and just now in the playoffs, cameras are catching that. I worked on a primetime crew for over a decade. They are looking for stuff like that.
Exactly.
There is no way that's getting missed. So I ain't saying you're lying. I'm just saying I don't believe you.
Maybe he just didn't have it out there. Maybe it was a slip. When you need
he was caught with it.
Yeah, when you need a woosah moment, hey, I'm either going to lose my damn mind here on the sideline or I'm going to read this verse and just woosah. Woosah. So it's one or the other, man. So instead of squatting down behind the bench where couldn't nobody see it and nobody would pick it up, he was like, damn, I need this right now. This can't wait.
Yeah. Let me present proudly my book and my woosah moment, as you put it, Seth. All right. Gentlemen, the Eagles are going to go ahead and take on either the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the 3 seed, the 4 seed Rams, or the 5 seed Minnesota Vikings next week. There's a chance they play Saturday and Sunday are going to be the games. So when we're looking at these matchups, we talked about how the Rams would probably be the easiest path if they draw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who right now are trailing 7-0, or 10-0 now, or 10-3 to the Washington Commanders, If they face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I know a lot of people throughout the week are going to be talking about Jalen Hurts taking on Todd Bowles again, and he's 0-2 against them in the playoffs. When you talk about that matchup, how has Jalen Hurts and this offense changed to be able to get around that hump that is Todd Bowles?
Well, I think you got to look at the two teams that Todd Bowles decimated. Okay, because what people forget also is that Jalen Hurts in the regular season, they beat Tampa Bay in the regular season. Okay, I think we all forget about that. The thing that's freshest on our mind because we're in playoff mode is the fact that, it's time for the playoffs. So the first year, a rookie Jalen Hurts with a 9-7 record on a decimated roster didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with Tom Brady. Then you come back, last year after starting 10-1, then you free fall the last 6-7 games of the season, and then you got to go down to Tampa Bay in the first round and you get run up out of there. Listen, they wouldn't have beat the JV team from the prep last year at the end of the season. That's how bad. That's where they were. That's how bad they were. They were physically beaten. They were emotionally beaten, and the worst of all, they were psychologically destroyed from the San Francisco 49ers game all the way until they lost, to Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year. This team is not that team. Even the team that went down to Tampa Bay and got beat up, in week 4, this is not that team. It simply isn't. They've got a completely different defensive philosophy and mindset and identity, as well as, from an offensive perspective. They are a running football team. Tampa Bay is a good team against the run, but if you run anywhere except for where they tried to run when they went down there in that 100-degree weather, right up the middle at Via Vare, dum-dums, you can probably make some yards.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So my point is that the team that lost those 2 playoffs didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning those games. The team that went down in week 4 of this season didn't have a chance because offensively we were trying to figure out who we were. Defensively, we were trying to figure out who we were. Okay? So I'm not worried. I'm not worried about playing anybody. Taking all comers, bring them on. Bring them on.
I will say this. If they play next week like they did today, except maybe the Rams, I don't know if they get past next week, to be honest. To be honest with you.
Are you talking offensively or defensively?
Offensively.
Okay.
I don't think they get past.
So you mean to tell me that the fact that you could hold the Green Bay Packers offense to 10 points doesn't give you the reassurance that you can hold a Matthew Stafford offense that you dominated early? Or who else is on the list? A Tampa Bay offense who is,
Sam Darnold's offense?
There you go.
Okay, I'm just saying, if they play like this today, I don't think they get past next Sunday, to be honest.
That's easy to say.
It is until we get to that point.
It's easy to say if you're not going to if you're going to say that the defense isn't going to do what it did all season long. Okay, if the defense has an off day, I will say this. I'll take it to let me put a spin on it. If the offense plays the way that it played today, and the defense has an off day,
yeah, they're done.
They can lose to anybody.
Oh, sure.
Okay?
Sure.
But if the offense plays the way it played today and the defense plays the way it played today, they can beat anybody.
We're going to see. We'll find out next week.
Anybody.
We'll find out next week.
Anybody. Because, in my opinion, defense, everybody wants to talk about offense. You seen the geek commercial today we were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Well, actually,
it's actually, you can't win an NFL championship, without a great offense. And the little geek guy says, oh, that's not true. 16 of the last 13 Super Bowl champions have had defenses ranked in the top 10. Okay. That kind of dispels some of the nonsense that gets thrown out there all the time. And we have a defense that's not only top 10, but number 1 in the National Football League, okay? So you're going to tell me that our defense can't hold serve until our offense can figure it out? Now, if the defense has a day, like they had it against Washington.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
They had it, against Atlanta in week 2. They had it against Tampa Bay in week 4. If they play like that and the offense struggles, yes. But if we play the way that we played the other,
13 games?
13, 14 games, I'll take us against anybody.
We're going to see.
Against
We'll see
anybody.
next time. I expect a drastic improvement offensively.
Listen, I hope so.
I do. I expect it.
I hope so. I hope they can get out here and rush for 180 yards and throw for another 250. I mean, that's everybody's desire.
I'm not even talking about stats. I'm talking about controlling the clock, wearing the defense down, get the necessary points, turn it over to your defense. I'm not even talking about Saquon with $150, Jalen throwing for 290. I'm just talking in terms of efficiency in the offense. 6, 7, 8 minute drives like we've seen them do a lot of this season.
I get it. But in order to be efficient, those numbers will have to fall in line.
Oh, they will.
That.
Sure they will.
Yeah.
The last time the Eagles looked terrible was against the Bucs. Ever since then, they look pretty damn good. And I still think going back to that Bucs game, Vic Fangio could have won that game with one call. Get up on the line.
Yes.
Get up on the line. They let Baker Mayfield get rid of the football at a second and a half.
Yes.
Boom. Every single time. Every single time. That's the show, ladies and gentlemen. After the Eagles win their wild card matchup with the Green Bay Packers 22-10. We will see you next week. Day and time to be determined, but we'll be here for the betPARX postgame show live from Parx Casino presented by Pond Lehocky. I'm Marc Farzetta along with Seth Joyner and Derrick Gunn. We'll see you next week.
Go Birds.